Now the 81st question. Global commons are areas that lie outside the political reach of any one nation state. Now what are global commons? Global commons basically refer to the common pool resources, and these are usually used to describe the international, supranational, supranational meaning which are beyond the national resource domains. Okay, these are beyond the national resource pools, and these are international or supranational, above the national resource domains, and these are where the common resources are found. Hence these are referred to as global commons. So these are basically common resource pools beyond the natural resource domains. The international law, according to this definition, has declared four areas as your global commons. They are the high seas, the atmosphere, then you have the outer space, and the Antarctica. Okay, so these four comprise your global commons. 82. Consider the following with reference to additional surveillance measures recently seen in news. ASM have been introduced by RBI. It's a surveillance method to keep a tab on market speculation and manipulation to safeguard investors from excessive volatility in individual stocks. Okay, so what are these additional surveillance measures? Okay, so what are these additional surveillance measures? See, you need not go into all these unnecessary details. These would not be relevant from the perspective of UPSC. This is clear cut. All you need to know is what broadly additional surveillance measures intend to do and who introduced them. So first of all, these have been put in to check the huge volatility in the share prices, to keep a check in the volatility in share prices. Now whenever there is a huge volatility, it basically sends out nervousness in the market regulators. Okay, na? And these basically become suspicious stocks because you do suspect certain unscrupulous elements who are controlling these prices, and who basically push up the prices, and then they will sell it to the unsuspecting public at a later stage. So to keep a check on such unscrupulous happenings, what the SEBI has done is it will put in some trading curbs. It will put in some trade curbs on the stocks that are showing high volatility in prices, and for this, these are termed as additional surveillance measures, and these have been introduced or put in by SEBI on the stock exchanges. Okay, now how and which stocks will be put into these additional surveillance measure or subjected to these, that is not important from the perspective of UPSC. With reference to Project Sashakt in news, it can consider the following statements. The Project Sashakt aims to resolve the problem of stressed assets of public sector banks through the resolution of bad loans. Further, it was proposed by a panel led by PNB Chairman Sunil Mehta. It is a five-pronged strategy to resolve bad loans, including an SME approach, a bank-led resolution approach, an asset AMC approach, etc. Okay, now first of all, what are stressed assets? Now there's a huge confusion between, or there is a huge perception that stressed assets are equal to NPAs, but this is not true. Stressed assets are basically equal to NPAs. They are equal to restructured assets. Okay, plus your restructured assets plus your written off assets. Now what are NPAs? NPA का मतलब basically है there's a loan that was given by the banks, ठीक है ना, and the principal or the interest remains unpaid for a particular period by the borrower to the bank. Such are called as NPAs. These are further categorized into doubtful assets, substandard asset, or a loss asset depending upon the period for which the principal or interest remains, or the loan, basically the asset remains NPA. Now what are restructured assets? Restructured assets are those loans those borrowers who get an extended repayment period, ठीक है ना, with reduced interest rate or converting a part of the loan into equity. Basically the entire asset, the entire loan is restructured so as to make the borrower capable of repaying the principal and the interest. ठीक है, these are called restructured assets. And what are written off assets? Written off assets are basically those that the bank or the lender does not count the money borrower owes to it. These are your written off assets. So these three combined, NPAs, restructured assets and the written off assets together make up the stressed assets. Okay. So Project Sashakt was launched to basically resolve the problem of stressed assets of public sector banks. The first statement is correct. Sashakt stands for strengthening, and the whole objective is to strengthen the credit capacity, credit culture and portfolio of public sector banks. India's public sector banks account for more than 70% of the total bad loans of the banking industry. The five-pronged resolution route includes the SME approach, you have the BALRA or the bank-led resolution approach, the AMC or the AIF, ठीक है ना, asset management company, or the alternate investment fund approach for loans above rupees 500 crores, the NCLT or the IBC approach, and the asset trading platform approach. Now you can read the entire information here in detail. We won't go into the details. In eastern India, during the Pala kingdom was in Bengal, ठीक है ना, the erstwhile Bengal. In the 9th, a miniature painting developed. The art of painting reached its climax during the period of Aurangzeb. Now, second statement is completely wrong. Why? Because Aurangzeb was against all these luxuries, ठीक है ना, such as painting, singing, etc. ठीक है ना? He was a religious person, and so he was opposed. Therefore, second statement is wrong. The statement one is correct. In eastern India, in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, during the Pala kingdom in 9th to 10th century, a new kind of painting developed which was called the miniature painting. Miniature, as the name suggests, were small works which were made on perishable materials. In this category, Buddhist, Jain and Hindu manuscripts were illustrated. Okay? So miniature were basically small works which were made on perishable materials, on which you had all Buddhist, Jain and Hindu manuscripts which were illustrated on palm leaves. Okay? Now they resemble the Ajanta style but on a miniature scale. The art of painting reached its climax during the period of Jahangir, who himself was a great painter and connoisseur of art. Okay? So you can read all this. Which of the following was not an extremist ideology during the freedom struggle? Hatred for foreign rule, Swarajya, advocacy, administrative. See, obviously D. This was what was practiced by moderates. Which of the following statements is incorrect with respect to Arya Samaj? They believed in the presence of various gods. Now Arya Samaj, they believed in a single god. Okay? They believed in only one god. They believed in Onkar, who is omnipresent and all powerful. They do not believe in multiple gods. Therefore, the first statement is wrong. It condemned superstitions, idol worship and caste system. They believe that Vedas are the revealed wisdom and they are the only source of religious knowledge. It prevented conversion of Hindus to other religion. All the other three statements are correct. You can read in detail over here. Okay? With the context to the British administrative policy, the policy of ring fence stands for having alliance no, safeguarding neighbor states' frontier. See, you can clearly understand the policy of ring fence. The policy of ring fence was reflected in Warren Hastings' war against the Marathas and the Mysore. It aimed at creating buffer zones to defend the company's frontiers. Basically aimed to defend the neighboring state frontiers in order to safeguard them. Is this clear? So basically what you do is you create buffer states. Suppose you have India and this has the border with China. So what you do is you have in between Nepal. So you guarantee to protect the neighbors' frontiers यहाँ पे, so that China does not directly invade the British India. So this was an example of what is the policy of, what is called the policy of ring fence. Ring fence. It was introduced by Wellesley, or it was seen in the wars that were fought by Wellesley. The 27th GST Council meeting, some changes have been proposed in the shareholding pattern of GST network. ठीक है? With reference to GSTN, consider the following. The GSTN is a not-for-profit organization owned jointly by the government and the private players. Currently, see, at present, 24.5% of the stake is held in GSTN by the central government, 24.5 collectively owned by state governments. ठीक है? And the statement 1 is correct here. See, at present, GST currently, before the 27 GST Council, 24, that is 49 totally, and 24.5, that is half of 49, and 24.5 were equally shared by central and the state governments collectively. Okay? And the remaining 51% was with 5 private financial institutions: HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank Limited, ICICI, NSC Strategic Investment Company, and LIC Housing Finance Limited. Now the 27 GST Council agreed to a proposal of buying out the stake of private entities to make the GSTN a totally government-owned entity. So now the shareholding would be 50% would be with the central and 50% collectively by the state governments. This is what the GSTN proposed. So just remember this. Formerly, GSTN was basically a not-for-profit but basically a private entity. Why? Because 51% was held by 5 private financial institutions. ठीक है ना? And 49% was held by 49% was held by the central plus all the state governments. है ना? यहाँ पे 24.5 in this. But now the 27 GST Council has proposed 50% for the center and 50% for the state governments collectively. ठीक है? Moving on. 89. Which of the following statements is incorrect about classical language? See, the following 6 languages included in the list of classical languages. You have Tamil, Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, and Odia. So far there have been 6 languages. A is correct. The question is asking for incorrect. They get financial assistance from for setting up a center of excellence for the study of language. The languages in India declared as classical languages receive 3 primary benefits. Now this is very important. So just know it. The first benefit is 2 major international awards for scholars who have made significant contribution to classical Indian languages awarded annually. So pehla kya hai? 2 major international awards. Second is the government has also set up a center of excellence for the study of classical languages. And the third is the central universities have been requested to provide grants for professional chairs for classical language. The C, granting of classical status to Marathi is under active consideration of ministry. So this is again a current news. While Marathi is conventionally considered a relatively modern language evolved from Sanskrit, documentary evidence submitted by the state appointed classical Marathi committee. ठीक है? And D is the classical language had been first proposed by Telugu academicians for recognition of their language. The first call for classical language was given by Tamils, and they claim that Sangam anthologies should be considered as your classical languages. Is this clear? Is this basic? It's not basic, but it's very important from your UPSC perspective. What kind of procedure should be followed to remove the chief election judge? Now see, the chief election judge can be removed much like the procedure for the removal of chief election commissioner is the same as your Supreme Court judge. ठीक है? That is, he can be removed by the president. However, the same constitutional provision is silent about the procedure for removal of the 2 other election commissioners. Only provides that they cannot be removed from office except on the recommendation of CEC. So the removal of CEC is the same as your Supreme Court judge, and this is provided in the constitution, but the constitution does not provide for removal of the other 2 election commissioners. Other than that, these can be removed only on the recommendation of the chief election commissioner. 91. Which of the following are correctly matched? Bioethanol. Bioethanol is alcohol produced from fermentation of carbohydrate and cellulosic material. This is true. Biodiesel, these are carboxylic acids produced from oils and fats. Now this is, see, biodiesel is a methyl or methyl ester of fatty acids produced by trans-esterification of oils. It can be directly used as fuel. What is biogas? It is methane produced by aerobic digestion. ठीक है ना. It is not aerobic digestion, it is anaerobic. Anaerobic मतलब in the absence of oxygen. ठीक है. It can be produced either from biodegradable waste materials or by the use of energy crops. Is this clear? ठीक है ना. Which will basically release your biogas. 92. Which of the following reasons are responsible for slightly increased tiger population? ठीक है. Wireless communication systems. The second is effective fire protection, stringent punishment for violators, and GIS, Geo Information System based digitized database development. So all these are reasons, and you can see here what are the various reasons for increased tiger population recently. Which of the following is not a wholly owned subsidiary of India? Now this is a traditional question, and you should be aware of this. ठीक है. So just go through the answer. It is self-explanatory. Match the following. This is a question from environment. You have these protocols and conventions. Now you should remember what these protocols hold for. Nagoya is for access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits. So D. Cartagena protocol is basically for biosafety and LMOs, import and export. ठीक है. The Stockholm is for your persistent organic pollutants, and Rotterdam Convention is for implementation of prior informed consent. So just go through these conventions and protocols on your own. BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. Now this is a concept that most students often get confused in. BOD value less than 5 ppm basically indicates that it is rich in dissolved oxygen. The total amount of oxygen consumed by microorganisms in decomposing organic matter present in a certain sample is what is called as biochemical oxygen demand. That is the total amount of oxygen that is consumed by microorganisms in decomposing organic matter. This is your BOD. So if the BOD is high, it will indicate that there is much presence of organic matter. ठीक है ना. And more of oxygen would have been consumed. ठीक है. So when the BOD is less, it basically indicates that less oxygen has been consumed for decomposing the organic matter. Water considered to be pure has BOD less than 5 ppm, whereas highly polluted water has BOD much more than 17. Thus, water having BOD is rich in dissolved oxygen. Is this clear, the concept of BOD? BOD is nothing but the amount of oxygen that will be consumed for decomposing the organic matter present in a sample of water. Now consider the following statements on IPCC. It has recently released the global warming of 2 degrees. See, it is not global warming of 2, it is 1.5 degrees Celsius. And this was your special report of the IPCC, which was also presented at the Katowice Climate Summit, right? This has warned that the temperature, it is first in a series of special report by the IPCC's 6th assessment cycle. It was established by UNEP and World Meteorological Organization. Now this is true, and report states that human-induced global warming already reached 1 degree centigrade above the pre-industrial levels. Now this is again true. Okay? So just go through this special report. You can find infographics for this on the internet itself. Consider the following statements regarding corals. Coral ecosystem is a perfect example of commensalism. Corals provide nutrition and zooxanthellae provides light. True. Coral reefs are most productive and complex ecosystems. ठीक है. Now, what is the question asking for? Which are these are not true. ठीक है ना. Coral provides nutrition and zooxanthellae provides light. Sorry, this second statement is wrong. It is the other way around. It is the corals which provide shelter and light to the algae, which is your zooxanthellae. ठीक है ना. So this is wrong. Zooxanthellae provides your nutrition. So coral ecosystem is a perfect example of commensalism. No, it is not. It is a symbiosis because corals coexist with your zooxanthellae, which provides your nutrition, and corals provide them shelter and light. Coral reefs are most productive. True. They occur in shallow tropical waters usually. Now this is again true. ठीक है ना? Corals are most productive. They occur in shallow tropical water. First two statements are wrong. 98 black carbon which is emitted by temperature combustion processes. ठीक है. Black carbon and brown carbon are light absorbing particulate matter. ठीक है, this is true. Black carbon produced due to the biomass combustion, whereas brown carbon produced to high combustion temperatures. See, black carbon is emitted mainly by high temperature combustion processes such as this, whereas brown carbon is emitted mainly by biomass combustion. ठीक है, these are the two most important light absorbing substances in the atmospheric matter. Their impact is same as both are light absorbing particulate matter. It will absorb sunlight and this. You can go through the explanation. Viviparity is related to mangroves. It depicts that. See, mangroves exhibit viviparity mode of reproduction. That is, the seeds which are there, they germinate in the tree itself before falling to the ground, because mangroves are basically in the coastal area. So if the seeds fall in the waters, they may not be able to germinate. So this is an adaptive mechanism. This viviparity is an adaptive mechanism according to which the seeds will germinate in the tree itself before falling to the ground. Okay? And this is an adaptive mechanism which was adapted to overcome the problem of germination in saline water. Okay? So this was our final question, and that shall be the end of this session.